Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/prorevenge. So sit back, relax and enjoy some Reddit stories. Coworker was stealing from me, so I got her fired and made her boyfriend dump her. I work as a sort of bookie, taking bets for sports events. In my country it's perfectly legal and it's a good job with good tips. I have a coworker. Let's call her Annie. Well, Annie and I have been working for more than a year together. One shift is mine, then we count the register and she takes the second shift. In our job description is included a casino. You know, Vegas style. On my desk, I have a large piggy bank that's metal and cannot be opened without busting it completely. It's also covered with black plastic Mickey Mouse foil. So since it's been 6 months when I bought the said piggy bank, I took it home to open it and buy myself something nice. So I got home and I pry it open and find it has less than 1,000 euros in it. And since I almost every day leave at least 10 euros in it, it should have a lot more money in it. So someone must have stolen it. That's when I noticed a small hole under the Mickey Mouse foil, and I realized someone was stealing from me. And I knew it had to be Annie. I confronted her and asked if she had opened it, and she started screaming at me. How dare I? I'm a horrible person. How can I accuse her of stuff like that? So I call my boss for a meeting. Since we have a casino, we have cameras for that area. What Annie doesn't know is that 2 of those cameras cover my work desk, and so everything that happens there is caught on camera. So I sit with my boss and explain that I think she's stealing from me, and ask to access those cameras with him. He agrees, and what we saw there was enough to keep me smiling all day. Now for the revenge. Boss called her out for a meeting for alleged theft. So she brings her boyfriend, let's call him Mike, in with her. I was not part of the meeting, so my boss told me how it went, and so the conversation went like this. You've been accused of stealing your co-worker's money. What do you have to say about that? I would never. She is a lying witch and you should fire her. She wants me to get fired. I will sue her. Then Mike steps in. This woman is the most honest-to-God person. You disgust me for accusing her like that. I will sue all of you for this. Well, we happen to have footage from the casino camera. Annie is now panicking. So what? That proves nothing. She would never do something like this. Okay, let's review the footage. Annie is now stuttering. There's no need for that. I admit it, I stole the money. Mike, let's go. Play it. There's nothing on it anyway. She didn't steal anything. The boss plays the footage. Picture the end of my coworker's shift. She turned most of the lights off and sat on my desk, and for about 10 minutes you can see her prying my metal piggy bank open and taking some of the money, and masking the hole. What I did not know is that she periodically took the money when she was the second shift. And what I also didn't know, and neither did her boyfriend, is that on one of the tapes you can see a man entering past closing time. Well, that's enough. No need to see more. I admit I stole from her. Give me the tape. She proceeds to go for the laptop. Sit down. You're fired and you will return every penny. Who is that guy? I want to see the rest of the tape. No one, just a customer. Okay, I'm fired, let's go. We saw everything, let's go please. The boss plays the rest of the tape. You can see a guy coming in and going behind the desk to Annie, and acting, well, like her boyfriend would. You're not allowed to stay in the building after closing time, and you're sure as hell not allowed to do that. You told me you worked late. No, this is not real, this is Photoshop. They did this to me because she wants to ruin me. Please leave your keys on the table, you will be escorted by security. And the keys to my apartment, you're not welcome anymore. Well, I've been told that this dude didn't even argue with her. He just cut her off, and to be honest, good for him. Boss fired her that day, and I haven't seen her since. And I'm suing her for most of the money she stole from me. Come on, if you're gonna do multiple stupid things, you've got to look for cameras. How can you be that stupid? Oh, it's not your job? It is now. My dad was a mechanic for 20 plus years, and for as long as I can remember, I drove him nuts because I would go around the house with a screwdriver he left out and take everything apart because I wanted to see how it works. As I grew older, I developed an affinity towards computers and electronics, which led me to be that kid in high school who changed his grades, crashed the school district servers, and used the net send command with great success. I would spend my weekends either with my grandparents and uncle working on science projects or dragging my dad outside to help me fix my car, which consisted of him telling me that he would help once I got it taken apart. Those figure it out lessons were probably the greatest gift he could give me growing up. I joined the US Army in March of 2004 and went into communications, or Commo for short, where I managed to go from private when I joined to sergeant by the time I returned from my deployment at the beginning of 2007. After returning home, I was subsequently transferred from a light infantry unit, walking everywhere, to a mechanized infantry unit, riding in an armored vehicle everywhere, and placed in charge of the battalion Commo shop, because the current person running the Commo shop was scheduled to retire in a few months, and I was the only other NCO. This is where things got interesting, and my Commo vs Mechanics pro-revenge story starts. As anyone else that was in the US Army can attest to, every Monday was motor pool maintenance, which essentially means go make sure all the tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, or anything else with a motor works the way it should. This included testing all the radios and communication equipment as well. If it didn't work, we filled out the maintenance forms with the correct shop and have them fix it. All the issues would be later consolidated into a report that the leadership team would review. If a vehicle was on that report, the leadership team wanted to know why it wasn't fixed. I ran my shop using the same approach my dad taught me, which was figure it out, and don't come to me with a problem unless you have a solution. One Monday morning, shortly after taking charge of a Commo shop, one of my soldiers came to me with a problem he couldn't figure out, and asked if I could come help him. I agreed and followed him over to the BFV that was giving him problems. After a few hours of troubleshooting, we finally traced the problem to the Bradley fighting vehicle's slip ring. We double and triple checked that indeed was the problem, because number 1, slip rings in general have a low failure rate, and number 2, it wasn't something we could fix on our own. It required help from the mechanics because the slip ring required taking apart the interior of the BFV turret to actually get to it. So I went to the mechanics to get their help so we could fix the problem. This is where I learned that mechanics didn't like the Commo shop. I was essentially told by the motor chief to screw off and the slip ring is a Commo issue, and it's the Commo shop's job to fix it, not theirs. I was ticked at the response and tried to insist we needed his help. However, I was promptly shut down and told to pound sand. At this point, I was beyond ticked. I tried the official way. I even swallowed my pride and asked him nicely. Both times, I was told no. I decided I was going to play global thermonuclear war and teach him a lesson that neither he nor anyone else in his shop would forget. So, I went and told my guys and told them I would be back in about an hour or two, because I needed to run home and grab some stuff. When I got home, I went directly for the garage and started packing all the wrenches, impacts and sockets that I could fit into my portable toolbox. I also loaded up the portable air compressor and any extension cords I could find, and made my way back to the motor pool. Once I got back to the motor pool, I had my guys locate every extension cord they could find around the office, because I could only find one in my garage, and help me run power out to the BFV that we were going to have to fix ourselves. Meanwhile, I also had two of the guys run to the HQ to find me two of the largest empty coffee cans they could find. I ended up having to tell them twice because the first time they thought I was joking. They couldn't understand why I needed a coffee can of all things. When they returned with coffee cans, I had everything in place. I had power, compressed air, tools, and a place to neatly put all of the bolts, nuts, and washers I was about to remove. Under normal circumstances, I would only remove the things that absolutely had to be removed. The fewer things to put back together, the better. But these weren't normal circumstances, and I had absolutely no intention of putting anything back together. It was about lunchtime, and I decided my way of fixing this issue probably wasn't the best example to set for my team. So I sent them to lunch and told them I would handle this issue so they could focus on the other vehicles when they got back. For the next few hours, I proceeded to dismantle every single bolt I could find. I removed seats, interior plates, shelves, pretty much anything that wasn't electrical or Commo related got removed. I would then place all of the newly removed hardware in the coffee can. By the time I reached the turret, I had filled up both coffee cans with nuts, bolts, and washers, so I had to go find something else to start putting this stuff in. Luckily, we had Ziploc bags by the dozen laying around the office. I grabbed a couple of those and went back to having fun taking apart the BFV. I finally reached the slip ring and managed to luck out. I didn't have to replace the slip ring after all. Turns out the mechanics didn't install one of the cable mounts, and one of the Commo cables got snagged and subsequently cut. It probably took me less than 15 minutes at that point to replace the cable and missing cable mount. Of course, the fact that I completely removed everything in the way helped me now because I didn't have to fish the cable through anything. Once I replaced the cable and made sure all of the other Commo equipment worked, I figured while I had everything taken apart, it would be much easier to fix any of the problems they might be having. All Commo systems checked out. My job was done. Everything that I had taken out of the BFV was then gently and neatly stacked in the interior of the BFV. I put the lids on the coffee cans, zipped up the bags, pulled out my trusty Sharpie and wrote bolts on each of them. Once everything was tidied up, I went off to find the owner of the BFV and let him know his Commo issue was fixed, but he should probably have a mechanic look at his BFV because I had to disassemble some, and by some I meant most, of the vehicle in order to get to the part I needed to replace, and I couldn't remember how everything went back together. I stared out of my office window for the rest of the day, waiting for mechanics to get around to looking at the BFV. I still remember the reaction of the motor chief when he looked inside that vehicle, and if I didn't know any better, I could have sworn his head rotated around 3 times and dang nearly popped off. His reaction was absolutely priceless. I knew he was going to storm into my shop in a fit of rage, so I got up and decided it was probably best to meet him outside in Motorpool. As soon as I reached earshot distance, he started screaming and demanding I put the vehicle back the way I found it. However, I was having none of that. I simply shook my head and told him it was a mechanical issue now and it wasn't my job. I asked you for help in the beginning and was told no because it wasn't your job. I'm just a Commo guy. I didn't know what needed to be removed, so I could fix the Commo issue in the slip ring. So I removed everything. If someone from your team would have been there, I think this whole misunderstanding could have been avoided. That vehicle remained on the weekly report for the next 3 weeks while they figured out what bolts went where. However, after that incident, I was never told it's not my job ever again, and the mechanics were more than willing to help me fix any issues that came up. By the time I left the unit, we ended up starting to cross-train each other's team members so we could fix things faster as they came up. I've gotta say, that was pretty darn genius. Like, he must have had the worst relationship with the mechanics after that, but it was probably so worth it. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.